Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I see that we have over 160 participants today, so I do appreciate you joining us today for this webinar. Again, I'm Carlin Aguilera Fort, and I am the superintendent of schools in the Oxnard School District. And with me, I have members of the team that if we need their participation, they will join us, depending on the kind of questions that we will be receiving. I have Dr. Jinji Shea, Dr. Marlene Batista, Ms. Noemi Valdez, and our Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, Dr. Ana De Jena. So thank you everyone for joining us. So today, the objective of today is to provide some specific and general information related to distance learning and the opening of the school year. I hope that the information that we will present to you will give you some responses to the many questions that you are having. If we are not able to answer every single question, please know that we are taking notes, that we are recording these, and that we will follow up. And if need be to have another webinar, we will do so. Also, we are having today 2 webinars. This morning, we are conducting this one in English, and we will conduct the next one this evening in Spanish. One of the reasons we are doing this is the first webinar, we did it in Spanish in the morning and then in English in the afternoon. We received many requests about switching and begin with English in the morning. I know that we will not be able to provide what everyone is requesting in terms of language, but we will be adjusting and making some changes based on the needs of the parents and the community. So thank you again. And I also want to inform you that this information, most of it, has already been shared with the teachers. And that was by Dr. De Jena as the Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services. She shared the information with the teachers, the staff also participated. And so your child's teacher, if he or she joined that event, they already have this information. And the webinar that Dr. De Jena hosted is also on our website so that teachers can access to it. Now, let's start with why we are here today. Again, we want to provide information about the instructional framework that will guide the work during distance learning. At the very end and intervals of this presentation, we will be responding some of the questions that you have for us. So we can get started, Dr. Shea, with the slides. Thank you. Let's move to the next one. Important for those members of the community and parents that need interpretation in Spanish, tienen interpretación al español y hay un globo allí en la parte de abajo de la pantalla para que seleccionen el español. Dice interpretation o interpretación, seleccione eso y allí va a tener la traducción al español. So it is important for all of you to know that the work that we are planning, that we have developed, and the design of the way students will be learning through distance learning is based on legislation. This has legal guidance. And the legal guidance is provided by the Senate Bill 98. And that Senate bill establishes the three type of learning modalities that we will be using throughout this year. One is in-person instruction. Second, distance learning. And there is the combination of distance learning and learning in person. That one, for many people, is also known as the hybrid model that combines online with physical presence. Today, we will be mainly discussing the distance learning because that's the way how we will begin the school year. And actually, that is how all the school districts in the Oxnard Plain and in the Ventura County are starting the school year. Next. So it is important also for you to know that there are no changes in terms of the amount of days that students and staff is required to work directly in teaching and learning. So we still have the 180 days of instruction for the school year. We also have the instructional minutes that every single student legally must be receiving. We have 180 minutes of instruction in kinder, TK and kinder. We also have 230 minutes of instructional time for grades first to third, and 240 minutes for instructional time in grades 4 to 12. So those are mandated and they are part of the school financing instruction and accountability for the year 2020-2021. Next. So it is important to know that the way the legislature has designed, and also in collaboration with the governor, they have designed how we will provide the instructional minutes. They have defined what we call, name in the previous slides, about what in-person instruction means, what distance learning means, and what combined instruction. So again, we'll have the instructional minutes, and it is the physical and in-person instruction is when the students are directly in the setting, the classroom, with immediate proximity, teachers and students in the same environment physically. Then we'll have the distance learning, which is the one that we will be mainly discussing today. And that will be based on the time that students and teachers will be connecting online the way we are doing it right now. And the combined instruction will mean students will come to the school site X amount of time to learn directly with the teacher, and then they will be learning at home, at times with the teacher directly via online, and at times doing independent work or work organized by the teacher through the different platforms that we have for distance learning as well. Next. I already named this piece about the instructional days. Again, we have 180 days that is compulsory education requirement. So we must provide 180 instructional days of instruction for your child. Students must participate every single day, and the schools and the district, we are mandated to document and record the daily participation of the students in this type of interaction. If the student is not interacting, connecting, and participating, that means that that student will be absent. We will have, and we are mandated to have, evidence of participation in the different activities. There will be assignments that students must complete, and the legislation is also mandating us to have daily contact with students, guardian, and or parents. The legislation also requires that we have weekly engagement with the students, that we can document and show evidence that we are meeting with the students. There is this language that, in this concept of synchronous and or asynchronous learning. That means the synchronous learning means the interaction that a student and teacher have directly at any given moment is live participation, like the one that we are having at this moment. Asynchronous learning means the type of participation and interaction that students will have guided by the teacher. However, it doesn't have to be interactive, live at that given moment. I think it's important to mention these pieces, and I did mention that a little bit at the beginning. We are still mandated to comply with attendance requirement. That means that your child must participate in the 3 different kind of interactions that we will have with your child throughout all this time. Particularly when we are looking at distance learning, the schedule that you will receive must be followed so that we can record the attendance of your child. We as a school system will follow up, will connect with you at the school site level, whether it's the principal, whether it's our liaison that works with families, whether it's the attendance specialist that we have in our sites, but we will follow up with you. Teachers will also follow up with you as we look at this requirement of attendance. Next. So we are mandated to develop this learning continuity and attendance plan. The continuity plan means that we are offering instruction, that we are not stopping instruction, and that we must follow up the following ideas. We must provide a plan for distance learning. Every student must have access to full curriculum that should be equivalent to the in-person instruction, to the physical presence. We are also mandated to provide curriculum and instructional resources, and we also are mandated to provide devices and connectivity. We are looking at which ones are the measures for participation. We will be evaluating or assessing, especially in the following areas: language arts, ELD, and mathematics. It doesn't mean that the other areas are not going to be taught. The emphasis right now in terms of evaluation and assessment are in these 3 key areas: language arts, English language development, and mathematics. Next. Para recordarle a esas personas que se han unido en este momento, tienen interpretación en español, presionen el globo terráqueo que está allí y eso los va a llevar a la traducción en español. I just reminded people that we have translation in Spanish. So far, this is the initial piece. So have we received questions related to this? Please write your questions and I'll have the team helping me with those questions so that we can respond to them.
Thank you, Dr. Aguilar, for it. We have answered a lot of the questions in the chat. I believe you will be addressing most of them later in the presentation.
Okay.
There seem to be quite a few questions regarding special education and services, and I know that you plan to address that
Yes.
after, I think, the next section of your presentation. Right now, someone is asking for you to go over the curriculum again. I'll let you answer that.
So in general, if we can go back to the slide of the 3 concrete areas for assessment, and that I will connect. Okay. So here, the plan establishes that we must provide through distance learning the equivalent of instruction that will mirror physical presence or in-person learning, meaning that students must have and must receive the number of instructional minutes required by the legislation. Students must attend school through distance learning the time that is expected, whether it's distance learning or through the hybrid model. We are mandated to provide 180 days of instruction to every single student that comes to our district. That is the base, the foundation. Students will have to attend school through distance learning at this moment every single day. We are mandated to record and to take attendance. So if your child is not joining or connecting, we will have to mark your child absent, unless there is a justification as in any other case if they were coming physically to school. There will be assessment or evaluations. There will be work that students must turn in and projects that they will complete. Right now, we are mandated to assess the progress of every student in these 3 areas: language arts, English language development, and mathematics. It doesn't mean that science and social studies and even physical education are not part of it. They will be. However, we will explain how those will be integrated in a different way. But yes, we'll have all the content areas provided in terms of instruction for your child.
Okay, here's a question. If we are not happy with the way instruction is going, i.e. it is not a good fit for my child, are there alternative options for homeschooling and maintaining educational status to keep my child on track?
Right now, there are 2 initial responses to this. What we will ask you to help us is to identify what is it that we need to do differently so that we can meet the needs of your child. And if indeed by your own decision, we cannot meet those instructional needs, you can follow up with the school site and the principal to identify the kind of independent work that can count and can be approved as evidence of learning and teaching and learning. So we have also independent study, and you will have that possibility. Our Board of Education just approved that. So if indeed we are not meeting the needs of your child and you feel this is not the best model, you can follow up with the school site to request the independent study, and then we will work with you through the process.
So I'm going to address a few questions, and then I'm going to ask Marlene if you wouldn't mind helping to clear them for me. When can I pick up the material for school? And that would be, I believe, the week before school starts. You will start to receive communications from the school site letting you know what that game plan is. There are a lot of questions about schedules at the moment, and we are working on the schedules with our Ed Services team and bargaining units, and we'll be able to communicate more details about the schedules next week, if not sooner. I'm scrolling through the questions. So programs with special services, we will address those at the end, including students with IEPs and newcomers and GATE. Will special education preschoolers be getting iPads? So the students at San Miguel, will they receive iPads? Dr. Aguilar-Fort, are you able to address that?
The students who need iPad for services in special education will be receiving iPads, absolutely. That's the way how we can provide the services that are required by IP, absolutely.
So there's some questions about teachers. How will we know what teacher our child will be assigned to? The school will communicate that out to you in the week prior to the start of school.
And we already are actually planning how each school will and who from the school will contact you to let you know the teacher, the schedule, the time, and how the teacher will follow up. There will be someone from the school, and you will receive that information. After that person identified by the school site contacts you, the follow-up will be through your classroom teacher, but you will know before the first day of the school.
And the first day of school is August 19th, and classes will begin on that day in a virtual environment. Oh, sorry, answer done. Are there backup plans for distance learning shortfalls, i.e. connectivity, technology issues? There have been some questions about attendance recovery when a child doesn't have Wi-Fi connection. I don't know if you'd like to address that.
Yeah.
Or to say that we've noted that and we're working on a solution.
So that is true. And also we are doing through our IT department our best to make sure that every student that so far has no access to internet, we have a process by which families can complete the form and the application so that we can deploy the hotspot for internet access. And if there are other circumstances that do not allow the student to technical circumstances or challenges with equipment, we will know that, and so that we can work with a classroom teacher. But the first person that will need to know is your classroom teacher, so that we can identify if the issue is really technical or is managing the different components of instruction to access the work.
Okay, I know that there's a multitude of other questions that are in here. I'm going to move you forward in the presentation. Dr. Batista and I will do our best to answer the questions in the chat. And at the end of the next section, we will also return to the questions that need to be answered still.
Thank you. As we planned this whole process and we continue planning, we want to share with you that our focus is based on these specific areas. Number one is a student center. We want to make sure that we have the students in mind with their unique needs so that we can support them. Equity, access, and safety, meaning some students will need different adjustment and accommodations, and we are working so that we can identify which ones are those so that they can have access to the content, to the teaching, to the learning. That is essential. We want to make sure that this time the students are engaged because they are having the access and the teachers are providing that rich and rigorous content. And definitely this is something, it's not just our concern. We know that this is the concern of everyone else. And so we want to make sure that your child, our teachers, our staff, and anyone who walks into our system is safe. So safety is of the utmost importance to us. Thank you. My apologies for the light. Someone is coming in and the lights will turn on immediately. I am in, the boardroom and the sensors, because I'm not moving, are not working right now, but someone will walk in. Okay, now someone came. Thank you. My apologies. It's the sensors in the room. Here are.
May I interrupt for just a second, Dr. Aguilar? I received a question that, we called what we did in the spring distance learning, and that looked very different than what we're talking about now as distance learning. And I'm wondering if you could take a minute to address because we're still calling it distance learning, even though in the spring it was different than what we are being expected to do by the requirements of SB 98.
Okay. So let's backtrack. During the spring, because of the pace of the decision-making process about closing schools and going immediately to distance learning, was it still distance learning because the students were learning from home? We did not have the mandates that we have right now legally. That's number one. Number two, we had to use the resources and the strategies that we had at that given moment. And we needed to provide more students with the equipment that now every single student from TK through 8th grade will have. So somehow the spring allow us to actually implement the initial phase of distance learning. Now, as we come back, there will be certain pieces that we must have in place. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we continue, but I want to highlight that there will be a set schedule every single day. The set schedule will also have which ones are the areas or the content areas by grade level and by time. So you know what time your child is receiving language arts, what time your child will be working on math, what time your child will be connecting with the teacher. During the initial phase in the spring, teachers were able to adjust their schedules in combination with families, in consultation with their principals. Now the schedules are being set. Once the schedules are finalized, because it's important for you to know that schedules must be agreed upon between our teachers and their bargaining units and the district central office team. Must be in compliance, regardless, must be in compliance with the mandates of minutes and the mandates of dates. But the adjustment of when to receive certain content areas must be discussed and agreed upon with our teachers union. So that's why we don't have it available at this time, because they are finalizing that piece. So now coming back to what it will look like, set schedule. Every single day, students will have access to mathematics instruction. At the middle school level, they will have the curriculum established already and adopted, which is connected math. In the elementary grades, they will have My Math. In language arts, and the reason I'm calling it language arts is because we have also the students in the dual language program. So we have Wonders or Maravillas based on the language, and Study Sync. Wonders Maravilla is for the elementary, Study Sync is for our 6th through 8th grades. In science, students will have content, activities, and projects that are connected to mystery science. That's a specific set of program and activities that are included in mystery science that elicit the type of content and learning that must happen based on the standards approved. And the students at the middle school level will have McGraw-Hill Inspire. Social studies, the district has created blended learning units, and students in K-5 will have access to that, and the teachers will provide the facilitation of the projects and activities that are connected with the district created blended learning units. And at the middle school level, students will have National Geographic as a content. That's where they will get the content that will be delivered to them. And again, it will be via project, it will be via activities that they will have to perform. And you will get the schedule hopefully by next week once it's completed and agreed upon. Now, there is this other piece of independent and asynchronous work when the teacher is not interacting live with the students. So the district and our educational services team, they have identified with the support of teachers, the different options and more online platforms. One of those is ST Math. The other one is Lexia for Reading. My own that many of you know and have participated, and Accelerated Reader, AR. So those will be the online resources that students will have access to. If you see, there is a specific set of instructional materials that teachers will be using so that your child will be accessing. And this will happen across all the schools in the district. It will happen across every single grade level. Now, this is important because this applies to both modalities, the full-time distance learning and the hybrid model. At some point, we will come back physically. And at the beginning, the design of that coming back to school in person will have the connotation of few days physically and few days online. Once we get there, we will work with you and explain the details of that. However, this is important for you because this applies whether we are coming within the hybrid model or whether we are doing full distance learning, which is the one that will start on August 19th. Students will have access to technology and devices. The content is aligned to grade level standard and must be at the quality level as if the students were coming every single day physically to school. We will offer, and we are planning and designing the specific academic support for students who have special educational needs. Not just the academic supports, but the other supports that are part of the individualized educational plan. Our special educational services team is working on the details of this plan and this instructional approach. Our English learners will have designated and integrated English language development. So that is also part of what we must do. Every single student will have access to daily life instruction. Thank you. I explained this a little bit before, but just I think the key piece of each one of these aspects and instructional components of the program are these. For synchronous learning, happens in real time. Right now, if we were teaching and learning, this is synchronous time. This is synchronous learning because we are able to interact live. And we can use specific online medium, and it has to be a specific time. So that is part of what we are doing right now, but that's also how the teaching for synchronous learning happens. Asynchronous learning. That means that the teachers will provide the materials and the resources and the assignments and projects and activities. However, the teacher at that moment will not necessarily be interacting with your child as we are doing it right now. That will happen on your own schedule. We will make recommendations, and the general schedule for each child will have that possibility of when to do the asynchronous learning component. So we will have videos, and some of you experienced that during the spring when the teachers recorded some videos so that your child could have access to those. Those will continue. The resources, the library, the access to project, and the access to definitely social media platforms planned with the teacher, your child will have access, and it doesn't have to be live instruction at that given moment. And the independent practice is when your child will work with little to not direct interaction with the teacher. So the students will have independent work that they can complete at their own time. And mainly that will be to reinforce some of the work and some of the content that they have been learning. However, this doesn't mean that the teacher at that moment will be providing direct guidance. However, the teacher will provide instructions how to complete the assignments and how to access. There will be, remember that I name the different platforms online. That's also when your child can access those as well. We name this, but here is something that is important for you to know. There will be regular schedule for students and teachers that will determine from what time to what time and what is the content that your child will be receiving. Instruction will happen during the instructional day. So every school will have their schedule, what time we are accessing beginning our school day, what time we are ending one aspect of our school day. That's set schedule. We must maintain, collect attendance. Grading, yes, there will be assessment and there will be grading. And it will be based on the content standards of that particular grade level. Here is a concept that for some of you may be new, which is a learning management system that will allow the teachers to have all the different content activities in one platform. You as a parent will have access to it, and there will be training for you and for your child, and definitely for the teacher, so that everyone will know how to access that learning management system. You will be able to know what are the assignments, you will be able to know the time of completion. So there are specific pieces that you will get information about related to the content that your child is receiving, the assignments that your child is receiving, the completion of assignments. And as we speak, our instructional technology department and our educational services department are developing the resources that will help you to manage the learning management system, how to access, when. So those are being developed right now. And our goal is to have those ready by the beginning of the school year. Next. Degrading and reporting. Again, I mentioned that is standard-based, is according to the grade level, and will have multiple measures, meaning at times it could be a project, at times it could be a complete, concrete assessment that your child will finish. At times will be an interaction with the teacher that the teacher is recording, so that will have different entry points to determine to what extent your child is learning and meeting the standards at that particular grade level. Again, assessment will happen. Next. Okay, Dr. Shea, Dr. Batista.
So we have some questions that we've noted we want to answer live. If a teacher gets ill or needs personal or bereavement day, what will the process be for substitutes and lesson plans?
So that teachers will have the possibility of substitute, and by next week, Dr. DeJena, if not next week, the following, but within the next week and a half, teachers will receive the details of the process related to that particular question. However, for parents, absolutely, we are working on having the bank of substitute teachers that actually will be trained on these platforms, so there is consistency in the learning and in the way how students are receiving instruction. Now, again, for particular teachers, for the teaching staff, we will have that specific conversation with you.
Okay, will the children get a chance to interact with each other virtually? Will there be anything to help supplement social development?
Absolutely, yes. So part of the ways of looking at distance learning now is that idea of providing students, in some cases, I will use this one concrete piece that is within the platform, which is called Breakout Rooms. So teachers will have the possibility of organizing small groups so that students can talk to each other based on the content and responding and solving a problem together. Then they will come back to the teacher, because again, having a whole group may not be the most conducive for that interactions. So that's why teachers will have different ways of providing students with that possibility. And that will happen not only while we have the synchronous or live instruction, there will be projects that will allow kids to interact through the different platforms. So yes, and absolutely, we agree that that is not going to be a replacement for the kind of social interactions that students have when they are physically in the same space. We completely agree with you. However, the design is to provide as much as possible with those social interactions.
Will there be an opportunity for parents to connect with other parents? And I'm going to repeat the question in just a second, Dr. Aguilera Ford. We have several open questions, and I just want to do a time check. I think some parents were asking how long the presentation was going to be. We did expect this to be an hour. I'm guessing at this point we will probably go over that by a little bit, just to give folks a heads up. The video will be uploaded to to the news page tomorrow. So 24 hours after the presentation, we will get the videos uploaded. So let me return to the questions. Will there be an opportunity for parents to connect with other parents in students' classes?
What we can commit to doing is providing forums for parents to interact. The specific interaction with the parents in your classroom, in your school, will definitely be promoted by the teachers or even by your parent-teacher association. I know that there are groups already formed. In terms of our district responsibility, we will do our best through our staff by a school site to provide the space and the forum for parents to interact. Teachers will be interacting with you, and there might be ways of connecting parents and the teacher, but that mostly will happen at the site level.
Thank you. Let me scroll back up. Will there be an opportunity? Actually, Marlene, I need you to clear that one, please. What type of support will be offered for working parents? My wife and I both work full-time starting in the morning, and this will impact our jobs.
So right now, what we are working on is in the specific general schedule that is supposed to be provided to every single student. Now, here is one area that we are still, I want to be honest with this, we are still trying to figure out is how to provide the support and the differentiation for those unique cases. So what I will ask you is to please, number one, let us know the school, the grade level, and so that we can follow up with a specific site to identify which ones are your needs and what kind of specific accommodations we can make. And we know that that's a need. Right now, we are really developing the plan and finishing the plan that will impact all of our students. Immediately, we will start working with those unique needs. Number one, your school site, your teacher, let us know so that we can follow up with them as well to identify how we can support you.
Will there be on-site centers for children whose parents work full-time and cannot be home during the day to teach them?
Right now, that's not part of the plan. We may look into that, but right now, we have not, that option is not part of the plan at this moment.
Okay. What about the after-school program? Is that still going on?
I will defer to you, Dr. She, so you can respond that one.
So the after-school program will also be offered through full distance learning. There will not be any in-person after school program until we return students to school. The program will offer enrichment opportunities through a virtual space and through Zoom classroom meetings. What the program did last year was they offered homework assistance and game time for students to interact with each other via Zoom, also to help with social development.
I think I would like to also mention the following. Right now, we cannot, based on the governor's order and the order from the Ventura County Department of Health, we cannot have kids on campus. So there is the decision of having distance learning through the process of ensuring safety that we have made. And there is the layer above that one, which is the mandate that we cannot have kids, students, and teachers at the same time in our school sites. I just want to put that out there because that's important to know as well.
Okay, I think you can start moving forward through the next section.
Okay.
We will also have another portion of Q&A at the end of the next section. If we have not answered your question or responded to you in the Q&A, we will go through the questions at that time.
Thank you. Remember that I mentioned before learning management system? That is called Canvas. That learning management system, and I'm using this trying to paint a visual. It will have access for students because the students have to interact using that platform. Students will have to go there to identify which ones are the assignments, when to respond to the teachers. So there will be that space for students within Canvas. Then teachers definitely, because they are the ones designing the program, they are the ones designing the instructional activities. So teachers will have the possibility of communicating and sending the different projects and activities through Canvas. Everything that the teacher does will be hosted in Canvas. Parents, you will have access, and remember, I mentioned that at the beginning, you will have access to this learning management system so that you can learn what are the activities, what is the grading, is there a new message, is there a new direction that is coming from your classroom teacher, or is coming from the school principal at times. But this is going to be your portal that will allow you to connect with the teacher, to review, to learn how your child is learning. You may ask, how do I know and when the team is developing the training? And there will be videos that you will be able to watch and go over step by step so that you know how to access this learning management system. So here is like a good selling points for you to know about this. This is going to be used district-wide. It will be easy once you get into it. It will be connected to the grade book. As I stated before, teachers will be trained, and that professional development and professional learning is being planned for teachers so that at the beginning of the school year, teachers already know about this learning system, management system. There are teachers already that have been part of the selection process that are familiar with this, and we will have also at the site level people that will support teachers with this. And it says one entry point for curriculum. That means that every component of the curriculum, of the content, will be in Canvas. And that will allow also consistent communication to students, staff, and definitely with you as a parent. So the parent training will happen between August and September. So as I stated before, we are getting those videos ready. The webinar will happen similar to this one, but with people that know how to implement and how to access Canvas. And we are promoting parent nights. Most of those parent nights will happen within the platform for your school site. The district will have also the central office. We all are the district, but the central office, we will organize some of those parents' night, right? So please, you will be receiving this information pretty soon about when those parent trainings will happen. I will make a comment right now. My apologies. I need light and someone that can do the sensor. Thank you. Perfect. It's already in. Thank you. Here is one important piece. Again, I named this at the beginning, but I think it's important to mention again. All TK through 8th grade students will have access to their iPads. They will receive the iPads. Students now that are currently in 1st grade and are going to 2nd, all of you kids in those grade levels have their iPad. We will make sure that students in grades TK, kinder, and 1st grade also have their iPads. Students from TK to 1 will have devices that we will distribute to them at the very beginning of the school year, the 1st week of the school. Right now, the team is working in organizing the list, organizing by school the number of devices that we need per grade level, including TK to 1. We will be accepting application for hotspot as soon as the schools open. So the principals will be on site, not next week, because next week they will be attending professional learning here, but for sure the following week. However, there will be a staff starting next week, by mid next week at the school level, so you can follow up with them as well if there is the need for the hotspot, so they can explain the process of completing the form. Okay, Dr. Shea and Dr. Batista.
We're on for some questions. Right now there's 7 questions in the bank. I imagine as we go, we'll get some additional questions.
And we have about 10 to 15 more minutes at the most, because we have the other meeting. So my apologies.
Yes. So will GATE students be placed in clusters? So this was a question about meeting the needs of students with IEPs, students in special programs such as GATE or the newcomer program.
So what we are doing right now, let's start with the special ed. Students that per IEP have specific instructional strategies and approaches, they will be receiving those services. If the students are in a self-contained special day class, absolutely they will be within that cohort. Our newcomer students, Dr. Batista, how are we planning the instruction for our newcomer students?
For our newcomer academy, currently, our plan is obviously we will have to do distance learning. We have 2 amazing teachers who will be working the program and making it very interactive, and will be very flexible to work with the students. our hope is that once we come back to a hybrid version, that the students will be able to be on site more often because they are a small group of students, and we may be able to accommodate them with extra time, which is something that they need as a high needs population.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And the gate, so what we are actually part of the design is that the distance learning is a gate-like program because the kind of engagement and activities reach high levels. So students will have access to high level curriculum. And if there is differentiated piece that needs to happen for specific individual students, those will be agreed upon with the teacher. Dr. Xie?
I was reaching out to our IT department to see if I can promote them as a panelist. Okay, if I go to attendees, oh, there we go. ITS admin, let me bring her up, promote. She should be here in just a second. So before we get to some of the IT questions, the next one is, can parents volunteer like in the classroom? Can parents help with Zoom breakout rooms? Do parents need to get clearance of some sort?
The requirements for volunteers are going to still be the same because we are mandated by legislation to do that. So if you are interested in volunteering through distance learning, please follow up with the school principal so that the teacher and the principal can identify what will be the best scenarios when you can support that. We have, if you have not been cleared through our process, we have in the district office a process for you to be cleared so that you can be a volunteer. I will ask you to please connect on our website because there is a specific set of indications and instructions how you can become a volunteer in the school district in general. In a summary, yes, we may have that possibility, but that will be in coordination with your classroom teacher and with your principal. And yes, we need to go through the process of clearance, and we have the information in our website.
Okay. So can, Marlene, can you clear that last question, please? Will teachers and support staff be on campus without students?
Teachers are having the opportunity to teach from their own classroom if that is more conducive for them to connect with the students through this distance learning. So that is a possibility. And the reason we can do that because it will be only the teacher in that classroom and there is no other people inside the classroom. And the classroom will be identified, will be scheduled, and our custodial support staff will make sure that we'll sanitize before and after. So yes, teachers will have the possibility of using their own classroom as a setting to conduct the distance learning, virtual learning.
Okay, can we apply for a hotspot before school starts? How will students connect during the first week of school if we still don't have a hotspot?
Is our IT director there? She's not. So
she's here.
okay, Miss Mitchell, can you respond to that, please?
We will begin the application process on Monday. We do have a limited number of hotspots, so the application process will open up on Monday. You can complete it online or by paper at your school site when the site's open on Monday. The deadline is August the 14th to turn those in so that we can make them available for your students for the first day of school.
Thank you.
And, okay. Let me get back up here. Can there be a test period to make sure iPads are working correctly prior to the start of school?
Ms. Mitchell?
The individual can reach out to us here at the technology department. I'm not exactly sure how to answer that. If she's having a particular issue with the iPad, then they can call here at the district office.
Okay.
I will post the phone number again in the comments. I know we posted it once.
I'm posting it right now. Regarding iPads, will insurance be available?
Yes, the insurance is a third party. It is not through the district, and the vendor will again offer insurance.
Okay. Okay, what Monday will that be to apply for hotspots?
August the 3rd, the first day that the school sites are open is Monday, August the 3rd.
Okay, so now there's some questions on, is there a way yes, Dr. Aguilera Fort.
So I do have questions that also came before, that came through the Google document that we put out for people. So I would like to respond some of those.
Yes,
and
please.
then we'll go over, if we have the time, to address those that just came in. So I do have a set of questions related to IPs and services to students with special educational needs. So the one concrete question that addresses that and many others related to the same issue is related to what are the plans for incoming kinders that have IP, and this parent feels the need to know how she or he will follow up with the district on that aspect. So the kinder list for students who have IP and need those additional services is being finalized as we speak. I went to the special ed department to confirm. They are finishing that list. You will get within the next week a letter that will inform you how are the services going to be provided, and before the school year you will know who is the teacher. So again, within the next week you will have the information about how the services will be provided, and then next to that you will be receiving specific information about the teacher and the program. There is another question related to middle school students that receive special ed services. And definitely one of those is connected to resource specialists or RSP. The students will have 3 periods. Students will have the 6 periods. The synchronous way, which means this way, will be during one part of the day, and there will be 3 periods. The component of the other 3 periods, they will receive it to the asynchronous way. However, the instructional minutes per IP will be met throughout these different modalities. Dr. Batista, I know you have worked also with the middle school component. Is there any information that I have missed besides stating that 3 periods are live and 3 periods are asynchronous with guidance?
Absolutely. So yes, they will be meeting with at least 3 of their teachers on live instruction, 3 of the sessions will be asynchronous, meaning assignments, but during that time, teachers will be available to support students, to do small group, to help them with any kind of questions they may have in regards to that those assignments that are due. And then we're also building in timeframes for special education. We're building in timeframes for ELD for our English learners. So we are making sure that all of our students and all their specific needs are being targeted within the school day schedule.
Thank you. Thank you. I do have questions related to the type of training that parents will need. As I explained, and there are at least 4 to 5 questions related to that. And yes, parents will have training. And when I was meeting with our IT, chief of IT and information, one of the exciting pieces is that the videos are already planned and designed so that parents will have access to the video, but also you will have access to the written information. So you can combine the instructions and the directions that are being provided via video, plus reading the components so you know exactly how these different platforms and what you need to do to be ready for the beginning of the school year in terms of iPads, in terms of equipment, and even in terms of Canvas. There is another question related to and this came a few times. Will parents of the students who are incoming 6th graders into middle school, will those parents receive some kind of orientation, virtual orientation? We are planning on that. And remember, you will be contacted by the school site to let you know what is the grade, what is the classroom, what is the assignment, and we will work on the specific orientation with the school site. So the principals at every school site will develop their orientation for you as your child comes to a middle school setting as a 6th grader. In general, those are the themes that came up in terms of the questions that we received. And the reason I'm saying the theme, because what is here is how we cluster those by the kind of questions that we receive.
So I have some additional questions in the Q&A section. Do you need a moment to just double check that you've gone through the questions that?
This is important, although applies to once the students come physically to the schools. Will there be safety guidelines such as mask, the distance, the social or physical distance, lunches? Absolutely. Once we get there or before, you will have the specific set of guidelines that will rule how we are coming back physically to the school site. Right now, remember, is full-time distance learning. Right now, we are not having on-site classroom instruction, except the teachers who are coming to teach from their classroom without students physically present in the classroom. But once we come physically and the students are expected to come, absolutely, all the measures for safety, all the precautions are being planned and designed. And we will let you know exactly what we have, how is the entrance from the minute students and you walk into the school to the minute students and you leave the school campus. That's now I'm asking Dr. Che to help me with the rest of the questions that came.
Okay. Do we need to go fill out the usual new school year packet, or what will be required from us for the normal school year paperwork?
So since the two of you were part of the, it's important for you as a parent to know exactly those questions we keep asking, and we receive them, and the team is meeting almost every single day to address and to plan how we are going to respond to that. So yes, and do you have, every school will have the packages. You must update your personal information. Is even more important now that we have current up-to-date information in the emergency cards, that you complete the forms that allow us to provide the meals to all of our students, so that we can also receive the state and federal funding. So this is very important. Please, please, once you receive the information from the school as to here is when you can complete the packages and the information needed, please do so, because we really, really need those. So the short answer is yes, you will receive the information when to pick up what the materials that you will need to complete for us, and we will have a space online as well for you to do what can be done online.
Okay, you mentioned hotspots. Hotspot applications will be available on Monday at the schools. Can I stop by my child's school before work at 8 a.m.? I want to make sure that the schools have the forms. So I think there's two questions within that, which first would be, what are the school's office hours when they do open? And then the second would be, what happens if a parent needs to be at work at 8? How can they pick up a copy of the application?
May I answer that, Ginger?
Go for it.
Thank you. This is Valerie Mitchell, the Chief Information Officer. The applications will be available online as well as via Google Form. So if a school site runs out of applications, they will be able to print one immediately for you. I also want to take this time to remind everyone, or let everyone know, that the application window is August the 3rd through the 14th. The hotspots that we have will be issued based on need. So it is not a first come, first serve. You do not have to go to your site at 8 in the morning and stand in line to pick up a hotspot. There's a whole window between August the 3rd through the 14th. And at that date, we will take a look at the applications, and based on need, we'll assign those hotspots that we have available. Again, it will be available online as well as at your student's school site.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Dr. Shea?
I apologize, my phone was ringing. Okay, so this one is done. What happens if a student does not get a hotspot?
So I will initiate, and then Ms. Mitchell, I would like you to go over the ordering and the analysis and, of inventory. So our hope and our goal is to provide by the beginning or before the beginning of the school year the hotspots based on the inventory that we have. If a student that needs it doesn't have it, we are also compiling so that we can submit the order that we need to submit and assign those based on needs. Ms. Valerie, Ms. Mitchell, am I missing any concrete information that might be helpful right now?
Not at this time. I just want to add to that we did take inventory by the end of the school year last year, and we purchased enough hotspots to meet all of the need at that time, plus extra. So we are starting with a very good inventory. However, I do understand that times have changed and situations have changed for families. So we may have to go back out and purchase more. Our vendors have supplies now. It wasn't like back in April when you had to wait 3 months. So we do have a good supply, and there may be a chance that we need to go back and purchase more. This is why we'd like to get those applications in by August the 14th to let us know where we stand.
Thank you.
So what if somebody is newly enrolled after the 14th? Would they still be able to request a device, a hotspot?
We will continue to take applications all year long. The priority is between August the 3rd and 14th, but we will continue to take applications.
Thank you.
We have 3 more minutes. My apologies. It's almost 12:30 and I have my other meeting at 12:30.
Okay. So have teachers been fully trained in Canvas? It is so important for teachers to fully understand the program before expecting them to be able to teach from the platform.
So Dr. Shea and Dr. Batista, the team right here, I have the perfect team to respond.
So with regard to Canvas, we have purchased the program and are currently working on uploading the back-end details to be able to populate classes for our staff. Once that has taken place, we will begin to offer several training opportunities for the teachers so that they can become familiar with the program and build a classroom within the environment. We, as a district, chose to purchase Tier 1 support, which means that there are many, many avenues for teachers to access support, help, and training, unlimited and free, and even 24/7. So we are currently working to get things set up so that we can start to schedule teacher trainings and support the school sites.
So yes, teachers will be trained and teachers will have several opportunities to conduct this. Just in general for you as a parent, I want to highlight that we had during the summer, we offer to the entire community of teachers what we call it here, the Blended Learning Institute. And that is a volunteer. So because teachers are off schedule, they are on their vacation. But we did offer training for those teachers that could join, and we have a very good response. And so there are teachers already that have jumped in and have made the progress in terms of how instructional through distance learning will happen. And those teachers that for one reason or the other were not able to join will receive that professional development. Of course, the teachers who volunteered and came and did the work during the institute that we had are 300% equipped to move ahead and to meet the needs of your child. And every teacher will be able to do that because there will be a specific training for them that is going to be through different modalities, as Dr. Shen mentioned. And you will have the schedule of your child's instruction. You will receive that schedule as well. So we want to make sure that we are as transparent as possible, providing you that with the information that you need to ensure that your child needs are met. So with this, I imagine there are many other questions. I'll follow up with the team so that we can respond to those questions. I just want to say thank you for your understanding. Thank you, because I know this is not easy for you, and please know that it's not easy for us. However, our commitment is to provide you with the quality of service that you deserve and that your child deserves. I have a wonderful team working with me. As you can hear, they are here and they have not stopped working throughout this entire summer so that we can be ready for your child. Once again, thank you. And this evening we'll have the same webinar, but we will have it in Spanish with translation in English. And we will keep adjusting times for these kind of interactions. Once again, thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we keep communicating.